My dad loved Bach, so I'm going to open up with some Bach. And this is for Bud also.
Thank you, Jackie. Good morning. Welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Congregation here in Stuart, Florida. Today is Juneteenth, 2022. The federal holiday is tomorrow. My name is Janet Grote, and I will be your worship associate today. Richard Granite will be doing the opening words for us. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, ethnicities, ages, and backgrounds. It is wonderful to see all of our vaccinated members in the sanctuary. We're on YouTube too. Hi, YouTube. To be put on our email list or to find out more information about us, go to our website at tcuc.org. Note the email link to request our online newsletter. Remember, silence your cell phones now. Visitors, if you are comfortable, please step up to the microphone and introduce yourself. Okay, now we are going to go into our announcements. We're going to start a little bit about our memorial plaque. It has arrived and it is awaiting names plus birth and death years of those scattered on our grounds and are in the vaults. Before we can proceed, we need help in opening those vaults. That is the top plate, which will be on the memorial plaque. Fridays, 11 a.m., we have a weekly current events discussion with Rev Bob via Zoom, and our book club is on Wednesdays at 11 via Zoom. We are reading My Brilliant Friend. See our Friday newsletter for the book club link and contact Reverend Bob to get sent the link for current events. And of course, our fun day is at Stuart Memorial Park, downtown Stuart, on the first and third Tuesdays at noon, and we have a brown bag lunch. That'll be this Tuesday. Hors d'oeuvres. Our Friday, 4 p.m., Tuesday, May 23rd was fun and fulfilling, so let's do it again. On Tuesday, June 28th, at 4 p.m. here, bring a plate to share, your own beverage, and most important, your plastic cleanup is not going to be available. So if you can bring your own stuff, that'd be really helpful. And Jackie Robbins wants to announce an event this afternoon at 3 p.m. at St. Mary's Church. A young local talent, Vilas, that she has mentored, will be playing along also with Brian, the young Ryan, the young pianist that is here occasionally for us. It's free, St. Mary's, 3 p.m.
Where is St. Mary's?
It's on Ocean Boulevard over by the hospital. And it's in the chapel, which I find to be more musically and environmentally pleasing. It's not in the building attached. It's in the chapel, not in the hall, which is really a much nicer place to play.
Yes, it's where the old library was. The old Mark County Library.
Well, that's before my time.
Oh, yeah.
Let's carry on.
Okay, and we're, thanks to Jackie Robbins for our music. And our greeters today was Jackie Buckley, and I think we had a little bit of Richard out there too. Marguerite Gregory. This Richard. You'll see him shortly. And Marguerite Gregory for the coffee and cookies on the patio, and we're going to try to set up the chairs in the front, on the front porch. I think there's more shade out there. Now we're going to have Reverend Bob light the chalice. From the bottom of my very existence, I am pervaded with light energy, shining colors to my eye, warmth to my skin, inspiration to my soul. In this unity of creative sparks and sparkling creation, life unfolds. Let us open our senses to the light within and around us and send out shining examples into the world. Now, Richard Granite is going to do our opening words. Richard?
Hey, good morning. Actually, when I was first asked if I wanted to do a reading, and I thought, well, I've been married to an English teacher. I can, in fact, 2 English teachers, so I can read. And so so I said, of course. And then this week, like many of you, just watching the telecast of January 6th, I thought, I don't know if you, there was a British, I think it was British, a journalist there, and he was there because he wanted to find out, why are Americans so divided? And so I thought, okay, I want to deal with this today. But then my grandson just came back from North Carolina visiting his grandma, and he likes to write. I thought, I'm going to take advantage of Grandfather's Day. That's what I call it now. So I said, Zachary, would you like to write something about this for me? And he did, and I'm going to read this to you. And he has kind of like a little different twist on it. He says in his article that Americans often wonder why our country is so divided. But the better question is, when haven't we been divided? At the moment of the birth of our nation in 1776, only about a third of Americans, or I should say the American colonists, supported independence. Another third were undecided, and the last third were British loyalists. And many of them ended up having to leave and go to New York, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and the Carolinas, as well as tens of thousands of slaves, Native Americans, and maligned immigrants. In 1786, shortly after we won the revolution, a veteran of the war, Daniel Shays, led indebted farmers in an armed rebellion against the government of Massachusetts. It was called Shays' Rebellion. Not 10 years later, in 1794, President Washington had to muster about 13,000 men to put down the Whiskey Rebellion in Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania. He's just noting all these things. Well before the Civil War, conflicts over slavery were numerous and violent. Black preachers, Denmark Vesey, and of course we all know the name Nat Turner, planned slave rebellions in 1822 and 1831, which left hundreds of people dead. It lasted 4 days. And for almost a decade, Kansas settlers had to defend themselves from violent raids by both abolitionists and by slave owners. They call it Bloody Kansas. Today, much of our discontent is economic. Isabel Sawhill, a researcher from the Brookings Institute, identifies what she calls forgotten Americans. These are the 38% or so of the working age population who lack college degrees and whose household income is less than $70,000 a year. Many of them voted for Donald Trump out of dissatisfaction, yet are opposed to any type of government program to help, including welfare, food stamps, and unemployment benefits. I think we all remember was it the Teapot Revolution? No, well, I think so. In the past, our underclass that was even larger, poorer, and more downtrodden. In the antebellum South, the living conditions of poor whites were a little better than slaves. And of course, they had to compete with them. When they fell into debt, they could be placed in prison or indentured servitude. This won't continue much longer. It's worth noting that the largest uprising in US history came after the Civil War at the Battle of Blue Mountain. It erupted from a labor strike of West Virginia coal miners. Racial divisions, class divisions, geographic divisions, all of these have plagued our nation from the beginning. They are why we have patriots and loyalists, federalists and anti-federalists, Democrats and Republicans. These divisions are never resolved cleanly. The patriots won the American Revolution, but they forced many loyalists to flee to the British Empire. The Federalists ratified the Constitution, but it was a document that protected slavery and gave political advantages to the South. The Union won the Civil War, but it was followed by a period of by a period of abandoned Reconstruction, and left African Americans to a century of oppression. Our most recent election was immediately challenged and clearly and nearly, I should put my glasses on, nearly interrupted or overturned by an insurrection. The problem is not that we're living in dark times, it's just that sometimes we can't see the light. Every era has its challenges, and they are not always new ones. Likewise, every country has its own issues, and ours often pale in comparison. For example, in India and Myanmar, Hindu and Buddhist regimes are persecuting their Muslim minorities. In Brazil, the president suggested that he will not accept the results of the upcoming election. Does that sound familiar? If he should lose, and that the military should conduct its own count. In South Africa, xenophobia is on the rise with increased robberies, and assaults. If you see parallels to our nation in these examples, it's because there are. The United States is not uniquely imperiled, nor is it uniquely stable. And then he was saying, he knew that I was going to read this to you guys. So he said, I would like to end this reading here, but it would be too grim for a place of worship. And it is important to end on a note of solace, because there's always solace in one thing: learning. Read the essays of James Baldwin, the journalism of Joan Didion, or the biographies of Robert Caro. They and many others have long had answers to why our country is divided. The more we learn, the more we understand, and the understanding will lead to our first steps in solving this. And thank you, my son, grandson, and thank all of you.
Thank you, Richard.
Yes, thank you, Richard. Now, stand if you'd like to sing a hymn through your Mass. We're going to do number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. 3 verses, all 3 verses. Bob begs all of you who can sing to please do so.
Hang on, sorry. Being interrupted by a phone call that is being blocked.
Can I sing? Not well.
Everybody want to stand up? Yeah, up. There.
We'll start that again. Here we go. Keep going, I'm sorry. Let's just do that last verse. I don't know what's going on. Someone's trying to call me again. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, when we're blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place, when we share the sights of sacred space, in the Master's way, when we feel the love of each other's
Affirmation. Let us recite our affirmation, speaking the first verse and singing the second through our Mass. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
I just want to say, Richard, when you did that run-through of American history, it reminded me of my favorite poster. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable. Here we share truths together, joys and sorrows. We ask that they be personal and that you keep them brief. In other words, not announcements. Please come to the microphone and tell us your name and what you want to share with us, and then move a stone after you have. Who has something to share? Hey, Judith.
I'm Judith Watt, and I mostly would like to extend greetings to everybody here from my sister Tia, who has been ill for 2 months, and we all wish her well. I know she's watching. Hello, Tia. But she misses everybody. She's an extreme extrovert, and Zoom just isn't quite her thing. Thank you.
We welcome extroverts too. Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay, here I go breaking the rules again, because this is a little bit of an announcement, but it is something that gives me great joy. Theater, for a good part of my life, acting in theater was a huge thing for me. And then I went many years without any involvement in theater for things like marriage and raising kids and working 6 jobs and all that good old American rat race stuff. But since living here 3 years ago, I have done a couple of murder mystery dinner theaters here in town, and they've been fun. But I did happen upon a couple of people that run a theater here in town, totally accidentally. They have a production, and I haven't been in a production in many years. And anyway, long story short, they invited me to audition, which I did the other night, and I'm happy to say I'm being cast in As You Like It here in town. And it just gives me great joy to be back in that realm again.
Great, good to hear.
And I want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day, because even if you're not a dad, we all had one. So happy Father's Day too.
You'll let us know when the performances are, I'm sure. Anyone else, Ronnie?
I'm Ronnie Dembowski, and I have a joy and a sorrow in one little breath. I was in Atlanta this week to visit some old friends of Fred and mine, who we used to travel with and do everything with, and they lived upstate with us, they lived in Florida with us, and they moved to Atlanta. I went there because her husband is dying, and I wanted to say goodbye. He's got blood cancer, but he doesn't know he's dying, but he's very frail, and it was a wonderful visit, and he was sweet as could be, and she was sweet as could be, and it was so wonderful but so sad at the same time. So keep them in your thoughts, please.
Sure. Anyone else? Pat.
Good morning. My name is Pat Malone. I'm joyful getting to celebrate two back-to-back events. One was my birthday yesterday, and today I still got to go do the Father's Day thing. And I spoke with my nephew yesterday, wished me happy birthday, and he reminded me that I'm the oldest Malone in the tribe that's still alive.
That's a good feeling. That's a good feeling, isn't
I'm
it?
grateful for that, too.
Anyone else? Well, we always move one for those joys and sorrows we don't say out loud, but we have them. For the meditation this morning, I went to the UUA and looked for a Juneteenth resource. And this is a meditation by Amy Bowden Friedman, RE Director of Concord, Mass. UU. Does anybody know of her or know her? This is the meditation on a well-known song, and she titles it Motherless Child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Here may you find a warm greeting, a kind word, a gentle touch. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. Here may you find a community of support, a pulse of liberation, a vision of hope. Sometimes I feel I am almost gone. Here may you find a song to sing, a moment of silence, a hand to hold. Even when you are a long way from home, may these walls give you shelter. May this community break through your loneliness, and may you feel the embrace of a larger spirit of life and love. Come, let us worship together, beginning with moments of silence right now. And now, Spirit of Life, we hum a verse, we sing a verse through our masks. And now is the moment of our morning offering. We hope you find a spirit of generosity here, and we need your generosity. Oh, it's down here. Yeah, nice try. Thank you. Right there. Thank you, Jackie and Dvorak. Wow. Now there's a piece of music we've heard before, but I think we love it. We'll hear it again. I hope. Yes. I couldn't believe this was such a white choir, but if you look hard, there is some color in this choir.
If you break it, I can help you fix it.
All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or everything they got. All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or everything they got. The top for the little bird sings and the melodies and the high notes ringing and the hoot owl cries over everything. Blackbird disagrees. Singing in the nighttime, singing in the day when the little duck quacks and he's on his way and the little otter has much to say and the porcupine talks to himself. All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or everything they got now. Dogs and the cats, they take up the middle where the honeydew hums and the cricket fiddles and the darky breeze and the pony neighs and the old gray badger songs.
Listen to the bass, it's a one on the bottom where the bullfrog croaks and the hippopotamus bones and croaks with a big to-do and the old cow just goes through.
Lazy in the car, some sing low and some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands and paws or anything they got now.
little song everywhere, by the ox and the fox and the grizzly bear, the dopey alligator and the hawkabug, the sly old weasel and the turtle dove. All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands to God for anything they got now. All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands to God for anything they got now. All God's creatures got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high, some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands to God for anything they got now. All God's creatures got a place in the choir.
I don't know exactly what that had to do with the pet blessing, but it's been enjoyable several times since. Sermon, beliefs that matter to me. My last two sermons here were kind of related to the war, the way it's been bothering us, the oppression we've kind of felt, the mentality we've been living with, the spirituality I felt we have needed. So after those two, I thought, maybe I should do a sermon on religion. You might expect that. There was a time when I thought I knew what I believed about matters now under a great umbrella called the realm of mystery. That was about the same time I thought I knew a lot and wondered why more people didn't ask me anything. Education changed from knowing a lot to learning how little we actually do know. So I'll add to the honorees of today and to all the humbling words of Alexander Pope. We think our fathers fools, so wise we grow. Surely our younger sons will think us so. In my early religious education, I started about 8th grade. Beliefs were things you learned by rote. You repeated them. The important thing wasn't what they meant. The important thing was you had committed them to memory. But higher education for me meant asking what things meant. And once that bug took residence, I was in trouble career-wise and didn't know it. I was beginning a career leading people in a faith tradition. Nobody I knew came to church wondering, what will the minister question today? One church leader was blunt enough to tell me, if you raise questions and don't answer them, I'm out of here. So that told me people did not want to hear about what I found unsettling, even troubling, about the faith we supposedly shared. For that, I had to get to retirement and find you, and you know who you are. Now, that said, I still have to say there are beliefs that really do matter to me, even if I am still trying to figure them out and how I should apply them. I know sermons have been understood to be what ministers are trying to talk you into or convince you of. Believe me, this is not that. And I hope you're not like me in that when someone says, believe me or trust me, belief and trust are farther away than the speaker knows, for me anyway. Still, this is a religious activity we've chosen here, and I think I owe it to you to share what light bulbs from a religious tradition are still going on for me, whether dimly or brightly. And my hope is that stirs your thinking about what lights from your journey are still guiding you. Somehow this got me to thinking that it would be a good visual aid now if I could find a miner's cap with a light on top of it. I don't have that. All I have is this. Let's get lit, it says. I think that has more to do with beer than enlightenment. All right. I had to try. I often say to new people, this is not a place to reject your early religious building blocks, but to build upon them, to open more doors and windows than they seemed to encourage us to do. Religion can be like a musty, air-stifling closet from which people need to emerge, or at least open a window. My early chosen faith tradition I learned to call the Judeo-Christian tradition. I thought that meant Christianity grew out of Judaism, was a branch and offshoot of Judaism. That phrase suggested for me a mutual respect between Judaism and Christianity. But I've come to know that hasn't been true historically, tragically far from it. Most Christians don't know that Jesus was a devout Jew. And in my opinion, Jesus would roll over in the grave he was not thought to occupy. Jesus would roll over if he knew anyone thought he was anything but a devout Jew. From that tradition, these are still gems, North Stars, lights for me. Genesis 1 says that everything created was good. All the stuff made in the heavens, the universe, and all the stuff made on the earth, it was all declared good, actually very good. This is how it ends, Genesis 1, with a minor edit on my part. And God saw everything that she had made, and behold, it was very good. Bernstein's Mass has the priests, the celebrants sing, and it was good, brother. Yes, it was good, brother. Yes, it was GD good. But the GD is kind of spelled out. A real priest, though defrocked, Matthew Fox, minted an improved belief with his book, Original Blessing. His religion went another way and made original sin the foundation belief, and then built a whole architecture of penance upon it, kind of making religion equal learning how to say you're sorry rightly. But priest Matthew Fox caught the spirit of Genesis 1. Everything nature made was declared good, very good. And there are so many goods we are still learning about, starting with knowing they are GD good, in spite of a history of being called less, way less than. Today is Juneteenth, a federal holiday observed tomorrow, to lift up the civil rights struggles and victories of people who were stolen and dragged here in chains. The date is actually taken from the time slaves in Texas discovered they were free, 2.5 years after the proclamation, which was, of course, during the war. The disgusting enormity of the fact of them being stolen and dragged here, the enormity of that fact of our founding, and its many morphing guises has been, will be, with us till kingdom come. We have so much to learn about the eras of racism. I'm still learning, I hope. I hear Bill Maher in my head say, you can't fix stupid. I hope that's true only for people who don't want to be fixed. Here's something I learned this week, so please stifle your urge to laugh at my stupid, though I do. For a long time, I have wondered, where is the school with the letters HBCU? With the vice president, I started paying attention and wondered where she went. Where was that campus, HBCU? Okay, I thought there were more than one campus. Many schools have more than one campus. This week I got it and was glad to read the HBCUs are growing in wealth, endowments, and enrollments. And one of the sad reasons is that black students know they will be a minority later in life and will very possibly be badly treated as a minority. So for 4 years, they choose to be in an environment where they won't be a minority and will even be treated like family for 4 years, college. So the HBCUs are growing, and Howard is called the Harvard of them all, and very bright black students are choosing them above the Ivies. Imagine that. And prominent professors are choosing them above the Ivies. And this is Pride Month. And there is so much we have to learn, sing, and shout. G.D. Good. My friend Randy Day, who has spoken here and will in a couple weeks, sent me an article about the United Methodist Church in Florida. Randy is a lot more connected to and aware of what's happening in that denomination than I am. So it turns out that the Florida Methodists, like all other U.S. branches, were supposed to ordain new ministers a couple weeks ago. June is when they do it. And the new clergy then proudly go on to pulpit assignments or places they were already appointed to, but with new standing now. There were 16 clergy to be ordained. And because of the chasm between the traditionals and the progressives over the inclusion, the welcome of gays in the pew and in the clergy, that class of 16 had decided they would all be ordained or no one would be. There are 2 of the 16 who are avowed and courageous and out gays. So the Florida Methodist Conference decided to ordain none of them. Think of that. 7 years invested in education for a calling you felt called to. Wow, what a thud. The national meeting is soon to take place, later this year or next. That will divide that denomination, the United Methodist Church, into a traditional denomination which welcomes gays but reminds them they are living unscripturally, divides them between that and a progressive denomination that wants that unscriptural bit buried, along with the Bible's acceptance of slavery and the submissiveness and second-classness of women. The good book has a lot of time-warped primitivisms. Another good of creation we've got to learn about and sing out G.D. Good about is the trans community. The Times last week carried the report that the trans community has doubled among teens The numbers are 1.6 million people aged 13 and up, or about 0.6% of the population. While less than 1%, that's still a pretty large number of people, 1.6 million. I'm trying to reach the local sanctuary group of LGBTQ to see if trans people will meet with us and teach us about their struggles and ongoing hurdles. You could add a lot more to this list. We've got to stand for what we believe, and that bit about everything, everybody created good, but historically dissed and hurt. Well, that means a lot to stand for. You might say, but Bob, aren't there issues, matters about that creation story you've kind of skipped? Yes, but this is about isn't about what I have trouble believing. It's about putting my money where my mouth is, what I should do about what I do believe. Belief should make you larger-minded and larger-hearted, not smaller. Another gem of Hebrew scripture is the line of the ancient prophets. The ancient prophets who criticize the people in power, the kings, for favoring the wealthy. The whole line of prophets, starting with Amos and Hosea and Micah and Isaiah, with the legendary, larger-than-life mythical Elijah, they nail the human tendency to use government to stratify society in order to favor the few. And those prophets sealed their own fate by showing religion to be a gloss over hypocrisy, with the deity declaring, I hate, I despise your feasts, your gatherings. For me, Jesus picks up that mantle of the Hebrew prophets. He finds religion and self-righteousness linked all the time. He listed sins of the spirit, about which he said much, like hypocrisy and self-righteousness, way above sins of the flesh, about which he said little. Eric Byrne, the psychiatrist in Games People Play, captured for me those sins of the spirit in the human boast, mine is better than yours. If not the, basic human interaction or game. Mine is better than yours. My religion is better than yours. My daddy can beat up yours. And my deity, ditto. Jesus carried on the prophetic tradition that religion is about how we treat each other, and especially the marginalized, the struggling, and not about one's own standing or reward with deity. That's another sin of the spirit. Human selfishness plastered onto deity. So these are elements of my original and lasting faith tradition, which still guide me, and I would like to guide me better. I would love to hear from you what lights you found and kept along your journey. I think it's Karen Armstrong, a great historian of religion, who said of the three Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Abrahamic because they all claim Abraham as a father figure. Of the three, Judaism and Islam emphasized doing, and Christianity emphasized believing. Beliefs can stunt as well as enlarge. So if you say you believe in a God of love, it doesn't matter what you believe about that God. What matters is that you love. A lot of us who started out in Christianity have discovered that beliefs may be overrated and amount to just talk. But loving is never overrated. And in the name of religion, there hasn't been enough of it. Now I need you to be loving about our last hymn. It's 326, and you might say he did it again, but I love this hymn. Did you say you think we've sung it before?
I believe we have, and the words are beautiful.
But regardless, I picked it. I love the words. Please notice the words. And if you have to struggle to sing it, just hum and notice the words. 326, 3 verses. Are you saying you want people to stand? Janet is saying, please stand.
It's good to stand.
Okay, please be seated. And because I feel the love here, I'm going to read the hymn to you. Let all the beauty we have known illuminate our hearts and minds. Rejoice in wonders daily shown, in faith and joy and love that binds. We celebrate with singing hearts the loveliness of sky and earth, the inspiration of the arts, the miracle of every birth. Life's music and its poetry surround and bless us through our days. For these we sing in harmony, together giving thanks and praise. Now, as Janet extinguishes, these closing words are from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. put notes on your agenda, do not touch.
Tell them.